I read the news and I watch what the government is doing, and I use that information to make my investment decisions. It's going pretty well. And whenever I talk about it, people always want to know how I actually research. I am not a financial advisor, and my 2 degrees are in something completely unrelated. But I used to write research papers for fun, and I look for information on stocks the same way I would look for information on cloning the mammoth. So you can't just rely on TikTok to get your news. You have to look for actual sources with actual journalists and explore outside your algorithm. The more you read about a subject and the more diverse that your sources are, the more complete picture that you have. What are you actually looking for? Reliable news sources. How do you figure out what's reliable? Your media literacy skills. I know they're rusty. This is one of those things that get easier as you go along. Once you start to look at a wide variety of different pages, you'll start to notice red flags a lot faster. You can find charts and infographics and reports online that list different news outlets' reliability and their inherent biases. You want to make sure that you're looking at actual sites and not SEO optimized robot AI slop or some kind of tabloid rag talking about underground lizard people. Make sure the website has other related articles and it's not just this one. Double check your information with other sources and make sure someone isn't just trying to make a word count and what they're saying is actually factual and can be backed up by other people. If you find something interesting, go ahead and Google that too. Most of the relevant information is going to be found in your political, business, and science sections. Look for policy changes, factory openings and closures, promising innovations, funding being slashed, funding being renewed, stuff like that. Most of the time, I just start by scanning headlines and just go off on a tangent. Everybody asks, but no, I don't have a set list of sources that I check daily or even weekly. Some of them come up more often than others, but that's just because they're putting out good articles. Mostly I'm just scrolling my Google News feed to get inspiration. I mark everything about celebrities as not interested and use the never show from this source again button like they're going to remove it. That helps curate my feed quite a bit. I highly recommend doing that. It's also worth noting that there are some finance people from big sites that I just do not trust. Just because it comes from a big name does not mean that you need to take it as gospel. There's this ETF I highly recommend you look into called the Reverse Cramer that analyzes what Jim Cramer from MSNBC does and does the opposite. And it's extremely profitable. Yahoo Business often has a similar issue. I don't know who's paying these sites to pump and dump stocks, but they do provide a great example of why you should do your own research and make sure to get information from a variety of sources, and no matter how trustworthy they seem. I get a lot of information off of Wikipedia, and I do double check that as well. There's a lot on there, and you can just go down a rabbit hole and figure out who makes what and why for who. I have a video posted in my How playlist where I go down a rabbit hole for, I think they're F-35 fighter jets and the people that make the parts for those, just as an example. Reddit can also be a really good source. There's a lot more AI slop on there than there used to be, but if you get really into the niche subreddits and don't respond or anything, this is an observation only kind of deal. Sometimes that people will get on their specific sector or employer subreddit and start talking about a bunch of stuff they should not talk about. I was on one subreddit a couple months ago, and this guy was talking about how he watched the CEO get marched out by security from his office that overlooked the parking lot days before it made it to the major news cycle. There are some additional sources out there like Capital Trades, Quiver Quant, Unusual Whales, stuff like that. While I do follow government money, I don't trade based on the trades our elected officials are doing. There are arguments for and against that. I know it's extremely popular right now. Some people think that because they have insider information, by the time you find out, it's too late to make a profit. But that's not really how investing works as a whole. I think the companies that they're investing in that they know are getting government money are going to go bankrupt between the time that they make those investments and when it gets announced to the public. No. Why else would they buy them, right? Like, they don't want to attach themselves to a sinking ship. And some other people will say, well, they're getting larger profits. Like, okay, if they make 20% and you make 18%, are you really that mad about it? That sounds like the people who buy new cars because they see that their neighbor got a new car and it's nicer than theirs, which is pathetic. Also, not all of these guys are actually good at trading on insider information. You don't know the specific technology or contract they were looking at when they made that trade. It could have all fallen apart, and it often does. Just because you're first doesn't make you best. For the record, I don't believe that our elected officials should be allowed to do any kind of individual trading whatsoever. And I believe that their pay should be tied to the median pay of their constituents to give them a little more motivation to make things better for everyone. But no one cares what I think. I definitely would not pay for any of that kind of information. The companies that are selling this information are just repackaging publicly available free information off of congressional websites. You can get it yourself. Is this helpful? Please let me know and follow for more non-advice.